Everybody thinks that Chelsea not having a shirt sponsor is commercially incompetent, but it's why Chelsea could keep having zero income from their sponsor for years, and it still makes sense for them to do this.
Chelsea have been without a shirt sponsor, and they're about to go into another season without a shirt sponsor still. And it really doesn't really make much sense. Because now you ask yourself, okay, these guys are billionaires. They should know that obviously the club can generate more income via shirt sponsors. The evaluation of how much revenue they should be getting, I think it's valued at like 50 to 60 million pounds a year, and currently nobody's willing to match that, because obviously Chelsea haven't been in European football, or they don't maintain European football long enough, consistently enough, where that actually is justified for companies that are interested in sponsoring the shirts. It's very, very, very interesting what they're doing. But okay, let's listen to the video.
Now you've got to remember who owns Chelsea Football Club. It's owned by Clearlake, which is an investment firm.
On that note, Todd Boehly actually, if I remember correctly, Todd Boehly is about to sell his stake in Chelsea, and it was reported that he's actually about to purchase Leicester, which is actually for sale for I think about 200-300 million euros, if I'm not mistaken. It's about to be very interesting because Leicester essentially would actually turn into a sister club of Chelsea, unofficially, by the way.
What do investors do? Well, they buy assets that appreciate, and that's the framing to think about this. Don't think about the income, think about the asset value. They think that Chelsea, with a front of year shirt sponsor, I think it's in the realm of £60 million. But according to reports, the best deal they can find is around 40 million. Everyone with a non-finance mindset is thinking, oh, well, they're leaving, all this money on the table. But you've got to think about it from Clearlake's perspective, because what you do when you sign that contract for £40 million is you set a market price. Clearlake will sell Chelsea eventually, because they're going to build a financial model, and in that financial model, it will say front of shirt sponsorship, £60 million. And a buyer will ask why. You just got a massive problem because you've signed a 5-year contract proving that somebody's only willing to pay you 40 million. And the most important part of this is football clubs are not valued at 1 times revenue. Major European clubs trade at roughly 5 to 8 times value, and Chelsea, I think itself currently values at around 6 to 7 times. So that £20 million matters massively. If you can prove that Chelsea sustainably generates an additional £20 million of commercial revenue, at 6 to 7 times valuation multiple, that could be worth £140 million worth of additional enterprise value. Suddenly, sacrificing some sponsorship income today becomes way easier to understand. So the trade-off that you have to assess is...
Okay, so now it makes sense. They actually, obviously they would want to sell it at some point. And the more, or the more likely they can sell at a certain level is because of obviously the different contracts that they can sign, and if they get a higher shirt sponsor, the deal, or a bigger amount, they can be able to sell the club at a higher amount. Their model is pretty good on certain things, but pretty terrible on certain things. For example, the part where they're obviously trying to lower as much the wages of players relative to performance, relative to which European competitions were competing for, etc., etc. So I guess this is all where now Chelsea's turned into a selling club in terms of players. Although, okay, to be fair, this season they've actually changed. Up until the start of the season when Xabi Alonso came, they were basically just a selling club. They sell very well. They know how to get players. They know how to sell very well. On that note, a lot of the big other 6 teams need to actually get advice from Chelsea how to actually sell players.
How many years can we do this before we start to lose money. Gets you roughly 3 years. So the bet now becomes, can Chelsea crystallise a bigger commercial deal within 3 years? And I suspect that's kind of what this whole bet is based on, is Chelsea, with all of the young cream of the crop players that they have, is one of them going to become a superstar, like a Haaland or a Lamine Yamal, who justify massive commercial involvement in the football club? There's one enormous problem with this strategy, and because it's brinksmanship. Ultimately, they have to do this because if they come to a point whereby nobody's willing to pay that, and trust me, I wouldn't pay that. You'd have to pay me £60 million to have my name on Chelsea's shirt. If it doesn't happen, you have made yourselves look like complete mugs. I understand Chelsea fans' annoyance with this, because ultimately what that means is that cash flow could be used to compound the gains of the growth of the football club, grease the gears on the business side of things. So I understand the trepidation, but ultimately this is it. It's alignment of incentives. Clearlake are an investment vehicle. And in this case, the incentives aren't really aligned with the best interests of the fans. Everybody thinks of Chelsea not having a shirt sponsor.
Now the problem is, this is why it's so difficult for Chelsea to stick within PSR. Not necessarily saying that they're outside of PSR, but they have to move in a specific way, because without having that front of shirt sponsor, even at £40 million, it would actually help, obviously, just to balance the books a little bit more. So yeah, it's unfortunate that football as we know it is being Americanized. Once you have these private equity groups involved, and I suspect that a lot more clubs are going to be bombarded by some of these private equity groups. But what can you say? It is what it is. Anyways, guys, cheers. Bye.